Ben Zobrist, good to have you here.
Thanks, Tom.
You don't need any introduction, especially to us Cubs fans, but I need to give an introduction nevertheless. So, I mean, amazing in so many different ways, but 2016 World.
So this is a good year.
It was a good year.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you single-handedly reversed the curse. We'll get to
No. New.
We'll get into that. But 2016 World Series MVP, you know, you've gone down in Chicago sports history as just, I mean, one of the all-time greats. And thank you for being willing to be on the podcast, man.
I'm happy to be here, man. Love having these conversations.
So fun. So welcome to the Unfinished Leadership Podcast. Any leader out there that would say, you know what, I'm unfinished, that leader I want to serve. The leaders that are saying, yeah, we've done some stuff, but we're humble. We want to continue to grow. We want to learn from conversations like this. Those are leaders that we're serving. And so I'd love to dig into some of your stories, some of your perspectives on leadership. And so let's go all the way back to the great town of Eureka, Illinois. What was it like growing up in Eureka?
Yeah, Eureka is it's a small town, you know. There's only, I think there was 4,000 people at the time when I lived there. Now there's 5,000. We got, there was one stoplight, now there's two. So we're really
progress.
Moving up. Yep. And, you know, it's a great town of just blue collar people who, there's a lot of churches, a lot of people that love the Lord there. Great public school system, great teachers, coaches. I mean, my experience was this is a very hometown protective group of people who look after their own and really go above and beyond to make sure that these kids grow up in a safe, healthy environment. You know, I had a great experience. My dad was a pastor in this small town, so I kind of, you know, as far as that goes, you're kind of in the spotlight in church. And so I felt like from an early age, it was kind of my duty, since dad was the pastor and we were expected to be at everything, that I kind of had to represent. So before I was representing for a team, I was representing for Jesus before I even really knew what I was doing, right? And so I think there was early on a performative aspect to my faith that really leaked obviously into my passion of sports and like getting involved in teams and all sorts of sports. I mean, I played baseball, basketball, football, ran cross country, long distance, was in track and field. I did whatever I could do, whatever the season was, I was in it. And I loved to win and I loved to compete. And so even though I was kind of undersized growing up in Eureka, even for our small town, I was usually a starter in the sports, and I played well, and I thought I was pretty good. You know, like I didn't realize I wasn't going against people in the suburbs of Chicago. So I thought, you know, we must be pretty good because we were winning a lot as a team. So I think my experience overall was incredible, kind of like a typical Americana, young American male in the 80s and 90s, kind of watching Jordan do what he was doing in Chicago, you know, and a lot of Cub fans don't like to hear this, but I grew up a St. Louis Cardinal fan.
I was afraid of that.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, you know, all of us need to be converted at some point. So, born in sin.
Yeah, that's right. But I mean, the Cardinals are, I mean, I'm a baseball guy, and they're a great tradition. The family that my wife, her dad, her uncles, her whole side of the family, they're all from St. Louis. Mm-hmm. So I'm used to it, and I went to school in those parts, so I know all about it.
Well, yeah, Central Illinois, I mean, our family extended, and there's a lot of people that had a hard time with me signing with the Cubs, but, you know,
what are you going to do?
Now, my immediate family, at least, have all been converted to Cub fans, so we're all in with Chicago Cubs now.
So, all right, so you grew up playing pretty much any sport possible. What are your thoughts on, you know, nowadays very different, right? When you and I grew up playing than today, it's like, nope, just play one sport. Do you think it's better to play multiple sports growing up?
I think there's benefits to it. You know, now it's harder for these kids to excel at the rate that other kids are excelling at because they're specializing so early. So I think if you're talented enough, you can still play multiple sports and still get an opportunity to play at the college level, get some school paid for, or play professionally. You have to be very talented now, though, to be that able to do all that. Huh. That being said, if you love playing different sports and you don't need to specialize because you don't know that you're going to go do it in college, I would say be versatile. Like, be an athlete, help your school in all these different ways. And I think it's easily overdone now, doing one sport all year round or just overplaying so many athletic activities. I think you got to have some balance in your life, which is hard nowadays. I think harder than it was for maybe our age group. We didn't have a phone growing up, at least I didn't, and it was like, didn't get that till like college basically. So there wasn't a lot of distraction or comparison like there is nowadays for these kids. And so I do think if you do want to excel, these kids are looking at highlights and trying to, perform at a very high rate at a very early age. And I, some of it it's not all great. Some of it's good, some of it's fun, but I do think it gets out of hand at sometimes.
I'd love to hear a little bit. I'd love to come back to even just how you're serving right now in your organization. I'd love to come back to that. So I've studied your story as best I can. I don't know how much of it's true, but I've been doing my research. Just excited to hang out with you. One of the there's a number of parts of your story that I just am fascinated by. One of it is, you're graduating high school. So tell me if this is really the story. You finish, you're done. Yeah. And you thought you'd make a longer run in the state playoffs, perhaps in baseball, but you graduate. You're
dust. Yep.
You're getting ready to just go to some Christian school and maybe pursue ministry or something like that. But your dream thoughts of playing baseball over.
Yeah, that's right.
And then a coach was like, hey, there's this kind of showcase tryout, camps or whatever.
That's right.
A one day, go run your 60, maybe take a few swings.
That's right.
Is this the story?
That's the story. Yeah.
And you're like, well, what the heck? And you threw down $50.
That's true.
Best investment of your
All
life.
true. All true.
So
yeah.
So take us into that moment.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, when we lost that last game as a senior, and I had to hand my uniform in and got in my truck and drove home, I remember just kind of bawling like I'd lost it. And this is where the emotional side of things I did, and I held a lot in growing up, and I learned that if you want to play well, you don't let emotions be a part of it, and so you play stoic and you kind of just toughen up and push through. Well, that was the time where I thought I was done. I was like, okay, well, no more of something I really love to do for the rest of my life. That's the last game I'll ever play. And I had no idea the plan that God may have had, or he did have. But it really took, Coach Gold was my high school baseball coach, and he saw that and he was like, well, he knew there was this scout day coming up, and he came to me about a week or two later and said, hey, there's this scout day happening, and they asked some of the good area players to be there, and you're invited. And he said, come get your uniform. It's going to cost you $50, but I think you should do it. And I really trusted him. Huh. This is where I think leaders really, I talk about this in some of the speaking that I do. I talk about this idea of borrowed belief, because there are a lot of times where we don't really fully believe in ourselves or know what we want to pursue. And somebody else sees something in you that is a little older, a little wiser. Coach Gold was my FCA sponsor, Christian guy, my math teacher, baseball coach. He was a guy that we all respected, and he was a little bit younger too than some of the older coaches and teachers that I was around. And so he just kind of had, we had a rapport with him. And so when he called and said that, I really took it seriously. And I'm like, okay, even if it's just to respect what he sees in me, it's worth it, and I really thought there's not gonna. I didn't expect anything to come from it. What I thought was, it's one more day of baseball. I get to put the uniform on, take a few swings, and then I was really excited because we didn't have velo guns at the time, and I knew they were gonna have a velocity gun, and I could see what I actually threw off the mound, and I topped out at 84, baby, and I was good. I thought I was good. It was 84. Now it's high school kids are 84, bro. That's nothing. They're all throwing 90 just about now. But that's why I tell kids, especially ones that grow late, because I was a late bloomer. Yeah. I was probably 6'1", 170 pounds at this time. Okay. And by the time I had graduated college, when I did get an opportunity through that scout day, which there's a whole story behind that, it's you don't know what is planned in college, right? And what you're capable of. So I graduated at 6'3", maybe 195, 200. So I grew 2 inches and 30 pounds, just from lifting and eating a lot in college. And so I think young kids don't realize if they feel like they're way behind, but if you love it and you want it and you might get an opportunity, you want to go get, now is the time when you're a young guy and you don't have a family yet and all that. If you want to go pursue it, maybe get some college paid for, or just add that on top of your academics. I say, go give it a shot. Go somewhere where you're going to play. Yes. And you have a chance. And Olivet Nazarene.
So was that coach, the Olivet coach, was there at that scout?
Coach Johnson was there, yes.
Coach Johnson saw you.
Another godly man.
Circled your name or whatever.
Yep.
And it was like, this kid can play.
And it was more, he was like, he could pitch. He didn't even see me as a position player.
Nope.
He said, you can come on as a two-way player. He said, but I want you more as a pitcher. He saw my curveball and he's like, okay. That'll play in college.
Really?
Not my velo, obviously, but he's like, his curveball will play in college, and he's a godly young man who, he knew I was going to go to Bible college if I didn't go to Olivet. And so he's like, we got a Christian school up here.
No way.
He said, with your academics and athletics, I might be able to get you some money. And so when he called back, here's the God thing about it, is I went to a youth conference that whole next week.
Okay.
I was actually late getting there because of this tryout. And the whole theme of the week was being open to what door God may be opening up for you. That was like the theme of the week. And then I got home and I got a phone call from coach, and he was like, with your academics plus some money we have with our program, I can get you a full ride to come here. It's a private school, private Christian school, $20,000 a year. And I was like,
okay,
I better go check this out, you know? And my parents were like, hey, you need to listen to it. If this is what God wants you to do, you need to go.
Yeah. And I mean, now we have hindsight to, without question, that was an open door from God. But you said something, I love it, borrowed belief.
Yeah.
Coach Gold.
Yes, Coach Gold. And he believed in me. And there, you know, Joe Madden's another guy I could point to big time in regard to that. But, and I'll tell a quick story on that one, because Joe is a guy that a lot of people know, obviously around Chicago, and one of the best managers that's ever been around the game, out of the box thinker. But he was a young manager, brand new manager back in 2006, right? And I had just gotten called up. It's my first tenure in the big leagues. I had hit 300 all through the minor leagues, and we had kind of a veteran team, and then a few young guys that had just gotten called up. They were losing. They were last in the division with the Yankees and the Red Sox and all those guys that year. And here comes this young kid out of Durham. I had just gotten traded from Houston like 3 weeks before that. Then they call me up. I take 13 at-bats without a hit. Finally get a doinker off of Kurt Schilling, of all people, for my first major league hit.
Off Schilling.
Yes. And then we go out to the West Coast, and we're making this West Coast swing. And I'm like 30 at-bats in. I've never hit below 300 in my life at that point. And I'm hitting like a $160. I'm trying to just get to 200, and he can see I'm really struggling. I'm like pressing, and he comes out to me. He goes, Zo. He's like, he never did this too. He walked out through the infield during BP, and he would walk around with his bat and sometimes talk to guys. And so I didn't think too much of it, but he didn't come to me. He walked directly to me and stopped it short and said, Zo, come here for a second. And I was like, okay, manager, big league team wants to talk to you. You listen up. And he goes, I know, you maybe haven't started out the way you want to. He said, but trust me. He said, just listen to me on this. I've been around the game for a long time, been, close to 40 years at this point. And he goes, you're going to play in this league for at least 10 years. And I was in like 2.5 weeks at that point, something like that. And I was like thinking to myself, this guy, like, he doesn't know how much I'm swimming in my own head.
Yes.
I'm overmatched at the plate. I see all these talented guys. I'm not that talented. I'm not that talented, And he's like, you just trust me on that. He's like, I know a major league player when I see one, and you're going to be in this league for a long, long time, at least 10 years. And sure enough, it played itself out like that. Now, granted, it may not have if he wasn't my manager believing in me. He was my manager 11 out of 12 years in the major leagues.
See, I never put this together because you came up with
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
We were the Devil Rays back then, and we were a losing team, and then they switched to the Rays of Light, right, on their uniform. And then we went to the World Series with Joe, and he went to the Cubs before I did. I was in free agency, and they picked me up. So that's how I got with Joe.
Obviously, I don't know Joe Madden, but at a distance, I've always respected his leadership. I've talked to guys I coach and other places I've spoken on, I call them Maddenisms. And just the way that he created culture. This was my observation. I don't know him, but I just would watch. I'm like, man, this guy seems like such an incredible leader. But how about him just, again, that giving you that belief? That's
the thing Joe was amazing at, that I don't think very many other people can be like this, is Joe was able to, think outside the box in a very traditional sport, right? But as he did that, he would notice players and say the right thing at the right time, or put you in a position he believed you were going to succeed. So if he had played me for a week and I was, on a slump, like one for my last 20. His philosophy was not, we got to get somebody else in there because he's struggling. His philosophy was, I believe in that guy. He is more likely to get a hit today than he was yesterday based on his recent stats. So think about that switch in your mind. Instead of like, oh, he's struggling, let's get him out and give him a breather. Right. He was like, I'm going to keep him in there because he's more likely to get a hit today than if he didn't get a hit yesterday.
It's a great leader.
That's good leadership. That's thinking and helping that guy see that too, because it's a game of failure, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so all of that, you play there for 3 years. You end up transferring to Dallas Baptist for your senior year. Had a great year there. Get drafted. Amazing. Here you go. Obviously, you make it all the way up. Incredible. So Devil Rays. Then who did you go?
I got traded from Tampa Bay to Oakland for like a half season.
Okay.
Then got traded from them to Kansas City when Kansas City was winning the World Series, or they were winning their division in 15, ready to go back to the playoffs. After making it in 14 and losing to the Giants, they were going back. So I'm like this addition coming into a great team already. And so they were like, you just do what you're capable of doing. And I, thankfully did play well when they threw me in there. We won with Kansas City, and all that culminated with me somehow getting this opportunity to be like one of the free agents.
Okay.
That was highly sought after in free agency that year. So what they're experiencing kind of right now in this time of the year is when I was getting all these offers and flying to different places and meeting with GMs and trying to figure out where we were gonna be for the next 3-4 years. The last 3-4 years of my career.
Yeah. Thank God you landed in Chicago. We're going on an amazing we're going on an amazing run. 2016, incredible.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite teammate with that 2016 team?
Yeah, there's so many great players. My locker mate was Hayward. Okay. And so we had a locker in between us because we were both kind of veterans at that time, and so we threw our extra stuff in the locker in between us, and we could have a lot of space to chat and whatnot. So learned a lot about him, and just man, I can't say enough about the high character person that he is, but also his ability to command respect amongst the team. And that was in a tough year for him. He had signed a big contract, wasn't quite performing the way he wanted to offensively. And, he was kind of getting, Joe likes to platoon guys at times, and he was kind of starting to get platooned a little bit. And it was just a tough situation to be in. And, the way he handled that with grace and kind of handled that with like keeping his thumb on the pulse of the team, not just himself, but the team, is really why he showed up big, I think, in Game 7 when we had that rain delay.
Yeah.
Because he really called the meeting that is
that's a real story.
Oh, it's real. Oh, yeah. To me, that's the biggest team leadership move I've ever seen from a teammate by far. Because here's why from my standpoint. And when things are headed in a specific direction, everybody feels the momentum on the team. And the coaches and the manager and GM and everybody else is feeling it too. When we had that delay, it's rare in baseball to get like, it's a slow game for people that don't know it. But if you know it, obviously, there's a lot of strategy happening at all times. Who's getting ready to go in? Who's getting ready to come out? Who's going to be matched up against this guy, that guy? So there's a lot of strategy happening. And in the midst of all that, we have our guy, Aroldis Chapman, give up a home run that gave up the lead. That was Game 7 of the World Series with the Cubs, and it's at that point you really like are looking up to the sky and kind of wondering if is this really a curse? I mean, like I am a guy that believes that God's sovereign over all of it, and I was going, I mean, we should be winning this game right now. How did that happen?
You're like, there may be
so like do you have some against us? But everybody feels like the momentum is headed in the absolute wrong direction. We're in Cleveland. Rain delay. It's the ability to recognize when there is a moment and what to do and what to say in that moment that I think great leaders have the emotional intelligence to be able to do. And they are feeling the pulse of the room, and they know what's needed before that moment even happens, so that when the moment happens, they interject what needs to be said. Yes. And so he had just a pulse on everything that was going on. And so when he said, hey, we need a team meeting, and not just any team meeting, we need a players-only team meeting, and it needs to be immediate as soon as this, we don't need to go upstairs at all. And so we go into this dungeon of a weight room under the Cleveland dugout. And Hayward's outside saying, hey, players only, like, and the coaches are going upstairs. What we'd normally do is we'd go upstairs, look at the weather, check our phone, like do what the Indians were doing.
Yeah.
Instead, we're ushered in, every player, and we all sit down. It's quiet. Aroldis comes in. He's tearing up. I mean, you can see he's emotional.
Oh, I'm sure.
And the door shuts, and Hayward's standing up there, and he basically says, you know, in short, because it lasted 2 or 3 minutes probably, but he basically said, we are the guys that have had each other's backs all year long on the field. So it doesn't matter what anybody thinks outside of this room. It matters what we believe in here. So everything that just took place in the game, everything that everybody's thinking, the millions of people that might be watching, none of it matters. It only matters. Doesn't even matter what they're thinking. What do we believe in this room? And he said, you know, you and I know, they know it, everybody else knows it, we're the better team. But the score is 0-0. He's like, we got to come out of this and be the team that we have been all year long. And so it's just that reset and that refocus at the perfect time. And then it gave other people also the forum to say something. So then there were other guys around the room that said things. And it was an overall positive vibe. It wasn't a backbiting. It wasn't a, hey, they shouldn't have made this call. No blame shifting. It was like, guys, we got this. We got this. It was this, you know, constant. And the timing of it was what was divine, in my opinion. This 17 minutes of a rain delay. And then as soon as we're done talking that chatter for 15 minutes, we're getting ready to leave. And the knock at the door is, hey, they're pulling the tarp. So it's like the shortest rain delay of our life, really. You know, we don't, in baseball, you don't have a 15-minute rain delay when they pull a tarp. So short, but we immediately, those of us that were playing in the game, went right back out and started stretching and getting ready to get back on the field. So we didn't even go upstairs, many of us. And then what ensued was this 10th inning rally.
Yes.
Schwarber on half a leg, getting a base hit to start it, and then Albert Almora tagging, and you know, then they walk Rizzo to get to me, which is always the right move. I always say that. He's the best hitter on our team. You never pitch to him instead of me. Right? So they did the right thing and set up a double play. And the other divine thing about that move was when Jan Gomes tells me that 2 pitches before I hit the ball down the third baseline in that moment, they had just moved Ramirez 2 to his left towards second base, and the ball scooted to his right down the line. So if they hadn't moved him 2 pitches before, that would have been backhand double play.
No way.
Yeah. Because I hit it hard, and I knew I hit it on the ground. I'm like, uh-oh. Like I knew if I hit a ball like that at a player, it's a double play.
Yeah.
I can't beat that out.
No. Oh my goodness.
And I saw him dive and it sneaked past him, and I was like
what was the count?
It was 1-2, I believe. I think it was 1-2. So I had foiled a pitch right before that. You know, he had started me off maybe with a ball up and in, and then threw a nice strike that I took 1-1, and then he like backdoor dotted 1-2. Then he threw another one that I flailed at. Just it was a ball, but I was close enough, and it's a backdoor cutter. I flailed at it, and then it was the next one he left kind of over.
Was it a fastball?
Over the plate. It was a 98-mile-an-hour kind of cutter fastball. That's what he threw, and it was awkward and tough to hit. So, yeah, I mean,
you got it done.
All that exactly. You know, it's in baseball. It's that much difference between an out and a hit, right? And so much of it is divine, and I can see that. Yeah. But all that kind of led to some discovery for me that went far beyond just like my baseball identity, because it really pushed me out of bounds where I had never been in that realm before.
I mean, truly, it was a swing that, I mean, in so many ways changed your life. I mean, you go on to be the World Series MVP, seeing you at second base, Rizzo freaking out at third. I love it.
Yeah.
So amazing. You get a Camaro, I think, for being the MVP. Now, all of a sudden, I mean, in the Chicago market, I mean, we loved you for so many reasons. I'm like, this guy's the guy. He loves the game. He's riding a bicycle to the park. This guy's the best. All right. But now you're like, everybody knows Ben Zobrist.
Yeah.
And what I'd love to get into now is the part of your story where, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was about 10 days after winning the World Series, MVP. You're on a plane, about to take off, flying back for a parade here in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Take us into that.
Yeah.
And what things that happened in your life.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere around 10 to like 2 weeks, something like that, right after all this stuff took place. And we had the parade, and I had gone to Disney World on a private jet, and done Jimmy Fallon, and thank the Lord I didn't do Saturday Night Live and everything else that was going on around that time, because I saw what they ended up doing. But it was I had got on the plane, and it was in the morning, and I had been struggling with sleep since we got home, and dealing with sick kids and normal stuff for being a dad, and I just had a panic attack on the plane. I almost stopped the plane from taking off, and I was just like, what's going on? Didn't know what was happening, but I gathered myself and ended up getting to Chicago and being involved in the parade. But I was like, something isn't right.
Okay.
And it's when I came home that I started really struggling, sleeping bad, to the point where I started having acute like suicidal ideation and some really things that were not like me at all. I had never been that dark before, and just kind of wondering what was happening. I've since realized kind of what the brain does when it's in a lot of pain. It's trying to come up with any way to get out of it. And realizing it took me a while of therapy that off season to kind of separate myself from that, thinking that's not really me. I have the Spirit of God in me, and the Spirit doesn't create those visions or those thoughts or those feelings, And so there was a lot of trying to understand, well, is there something wrong with my faith? Is there, I'm doubting my salvation, wondering if God is, asking all these deep questions about my values and my faith that I was sure about, I was clear on. But when you're in that moment, when you're so very disconcerted and not sure what, whether you're going to sleep or not, your brain's just, trying to survive, right? It's trying to, and I think it comes up with ways to just get out of pain, So it was mental health stuff, but it was also a discovery of what I had held down for a long time. When you try to be the guy that everybody needs you to be in every role of your life all the time, and you finally reach the pinnacle, and you hope that that's when the break is, and you get rest, and it's actually now heaped on you more. Because that's what people don't tell you about success at that level is you're going to get it, and if you don't then rise to the occasion of the next thing they're asking you to do, then you're going to let people down. And I didn't realize how that would feel to say no, to learn how to have to learn how to say no to things that I felt like I should do, or it's a platform I should be. I just felt like I should be able to do this. And I couldn't. I literally could not. I was kind of dying inside, not on the outside, but on the inside. And so just did a number on me that off season until I started it got a little bit better by the end of the off season. And by the time I went back to spring training, I was starting to feel normal again. But it took even all of spring training before God really infused one morning it was just like I'd never felt before or since, this feeling of being enough. I think a lot of men struggle with that in their job, and just with any leader, it might feel that way. But for me, it was the first time I felt really broken, like I really couldn't perform. I couldn't do what everybody was asking me to do. And I thought when I woke up with this feeling of enough, I thought it meant okay, enough of the self-pity, stop your whining and complaining enough. And it was like God stopped me in those tracks real fast. And he was like, no, that's not what I'm talking about at all. And he said, I want you to know that right now, when you feel you're at your weakest and you can't do all the things that you feel like you should be able to do, that is the Ben that I sent my son to die for. Right. So when we realize, that as strong as we are, as we want to be for our people, when you're in your weakest place, sometimes those people will leave. But God doesn't, because he didn't show up just because you were performing. He showed up when you couldn't perform. Right? That's my relationship with God has never been the same since then in a better way.
That day.
Yes, that day.
Well, man, I mean, there's so many folks that are, listening to this podcast or watching it on whatever platform that, of course, they can't relate to being, World Series MVP, but they've had a lot of success in the corporate space, or we have a lot of other folks that watch this. And I think it's so important for them to hear what you're saying of at your lowest of lows. And God's just like, yeah, that Ben right there.
Yep. That's right.
You're loved. You're enough.
That's right.
It's powerful.
Yeah. It's hard as a guy, I think, to let go of that need to feel like you're enough. Right. But what I try to help people understand is whether you are failing or performing, it's all of that never ends. Here on this earth, it's never going to end. So you're going to succeed, and then you're going to be asked to do more, and you're going to fail, and you're going to succeed, and you're going to fail, and so you hope you get enough success in your life to like feel like you're being there for your people. You're kind of a team member they can count on, and all of that. And so obviously, when you feel like you can't be counted on for something, there's a limit you start to reach, and naturally we probably shame, or I have shamed myself in that moment of like, well, you're not good enough, you're this, you're that, and you say negative things to yourself. And what I try to understand now is like, God is never saying those things. That comes from the enemy and from your flesh, in my opinion. I think it's biblical that God is saying things like, you're my son, like I love you, I got you, I'm with you. All the things that like feel like it doesn't make sense. He has proven to be more faithful in those moments and more dependent. I can depend on him. He is the hero of heroes, right? Like we try to be a level of that for our teams or for the people that count on us. We want to be that. And it's good to try to be that and be the best version of yourself. But when you aren't, he always is.
Yeah. It's powerful, man. I'd love to finish with the kind of work you're doing these days.
Yeah.
So kind of come back full circle to the way you're helping with youth and parents, and maybe just share just a little bit about that kind of work that you're doing.
Yeah. Well, my heart, post baseball, I want to use the platform in some way. I detoxed for a couple years after baseball and just spent time with Jesus and built community in Franklin, Tennessee, where I live, and got away from sports. I wasn't even watching sports, and I kind of knew I needed to detox from all that, the competitive side of everything. And as I picked things back up and said, okay, now what? What do I really feel like the second half of my life needs to be about? And as I'd been through depression a couple times, as I talked about once, I knew that in this sports realm, I had access to everything and anything that you could have, like mental skills, all the way through the best trainers, the best coaches, the best physical tools, the best fields and cages, and anything you would ever need to kind of do your craft well. But the one thing that I mentioned about Hayward that I don't think was taught, especially not at young ages, is emotional intelligence. And so there's a great marker of high performers now, as a lot of business leaders know, is they want to take their C-suite leaders through EQ work.
Yeah.
Because you may not be able to improve someone's IQ, but you can definitely take them through and train them in EQ.
Okay.
And so if you're training young leaders to be better leaders or to be better managers of people and they have to get emotionally intelligent. So I'm like, why is this not available to athletes, right? Why are we not finding a way to do this? So the more we researched that, and I wanted to do that for athletes at young ages that are going to be the next pros or the next just great amateurs, I thought, when you do the research and kids' brains aren't fully developed, you actually have to have at least one or two primary or secondary caretakers in a kid's life that is modeling the same work. Otherwise, it's easy for those people that they go home to kind of foil the work because their brains are still being developed a lot by their primary or secondary caretakers. So that means coaches and parents.
Yes.
And so we started a study in like, what do we have to do for coaches and parents? What are they asking for? What are they not asking for? How do we get in the intersection of this mental health crisis and great athletes?
Yes.
So we realized the travel sports world and the infusion of NIL and the money at the youth level has kind of changed the game drastically since I was that age, since we were that age. And so they, with bigger challenges and more challenges, they need better tools, right? And so we started developing some tools. Champion Forward is the name of the organization we developed, and we just try to teach people some of these EQ tools through a couple different modes. So it's been really rewarding in the small group that we've trained up to this part, and I just love it. I get geeked out about it, and I'm always trying to learn and grow and get better and trying to understand more. And
How do we find out more about that work you're doing? Is there a website or?
Yeah, there is championforward.org. And that's where you'll find all the information about the program. But also we got a really fun thing coming this year, this next year with the Cubs 10-year anniversary. There may be some sort of thing happening that is exciting for Cub fans. They might want to get in on it.
Okay.
Because there could be a big reward.
Hey, you heard it right here.
Okay, so yeah.
But you heard it right here.
Yeah. It'll be fun. That'll be coming out soon. Probably at CubsCon, we'll probably announce some of that thing. So I'll be there at CubsCon.
Okay. All right, one last question and we'll wrap up.
Yeah.
I always end every episode with a quote that I believe in deeply. Grace is a gift, but growth is a choice. And I want every person that I ever hang out with to know that they are victorious in Christ. They are empowered more than they could believe. And so growth is a choice. As you look back on your life, whether it's through sports now as leader in leadership, what's one habit that you're like, okay, I made that choice to grow in that way, and that thing became a habit over the years that has shaped you into the man that you are today?
I want to say two things, but I'll try to make it one.
You can say two.
So they go together. Being willing to sit in the pain instead of run to something else quickly. And oftentimes these other men in my life or the scripture itself has been a mirror.
Okay.
To sit and look at what doesn't look the way you want it to look. But you have to sit and feel that and not run from it, not turn the mirror to somebody else, but literally spend time with it enough to be, like experiencing the grief and the loss and the pain and the hurt and sometimes the things we don't want to feel. Sad. I have on my wall in my office now at my house, every Cub fan knows the W flag. And I've got right next to me this big white W flag, right? I could probably venture a guess that very few Cub fans, and definitely probably even less Cub players, have another flag on the other wall right next to it, opposite it. I have a big blue L flag. And the reason why I have that is it's a reminder that the wins and the losses are just as important as the wins. And if you don't sit in the intersection of those long enough, you just focus on the wins and only look at that side, you're missing a whole lot of learning and growth that you could have.
It's powerful, man.
Yeah.
Thanks again for being on the podcast. Russ, you're a good man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Love it. Until next time, we'll see you guys next month.